I was working on a COVID vaccine before joining DFINITY, which is actually kind of a cool story of like how to think about ICP as a blockchain technology. But
Did it cross your mind back then that you might end up working in this particular industry?
never, never,
Never? Yeah.
never. I would even say, when ICP launched, I started just analyzing data as like in my free time at night after I put the kids to bed. I started a blog just to more or less capture my own thoughts on it.
Not just your particular technical expertise. I think a lot of professions are kind of being challenged, but by what AI can do.
Yeah. I mean, who was it? There was somebody who posted online like a year ago, something that said in the future there's two types of people, those who lost their jobs to AI and those who became rich off AI.
So Kyle, hey, thank you for agreeing to do this. I'm sure we'll have a good time.
Yeah. Hey, George. Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Can you, before we dive deeper into what you guys are up to in DFINITY and the Internet Computer, can you kind of introduce yourself, talk us through, uh, your not so distant past. What were you doing before DFINITY? What's your background and how you stumbled upon crypto?
Yeah. Oh, thanks. So actually, I was working on a COVID vaccine before joining DFINITY, which is actually kind of a cool story of like how to think about ICP as a blockchain technology. But I worked for the small company called Novavax. It was like 200 employees. We had a strong COVID vaccine candidate, and we got, I mean, billions of dollars in funding when COVID happened. And one part of that was, so I was in the IT department doing data and analytics, and part of that was I got to experience how we beefed up our cybersecurity. And yet we were spending millions of dollars. We had access to the best minds in the space, and yet we still could not guarantee that our IP was not hacked and stolen. And it opened my eyes to just like how insecure the internet is, um, almost by design, actually. At that same time, Dominic Williams was talking about ICP and talking about how blockchain is actually a solution to the insecurities of the internet. And that just led me down this rabbit hole of that landed me at DFINITY. So
When did you join DFINITY?
let's see, 2 years ago. So July of 2022.
Okay. And can you clarify what's the connection between the DFINITY Foundation and the Internet Computer Blockchain?
Yeah, so DFINITY is the foundation that created the Internet Computer Protocol. The basically at once mainnet launched, though, the DFINITY turned the protocol over to the to a DAO, the NNS, and so DFINITY is still the major contributor to that code base. But the DAO has full control over what new code gets accepted and what code is rejected. So now we say we are a major contributor to the Internet Computer.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't the original name of the Internet Computer DFINITY Network? I
Yes.
think, yeah, it was.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's a long time ago.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So is it fair to say that the relationship between the Infinity Foundation and the Internet Computer is kind of like Ethereum Foundation and the Ethereum protocol?
Yeah, but it's and the fact that they didn't choose the same name for the network, for the foundation and the protocol, basically is like a suggestion that, look, our goal is not to be the foundation
Yeah,
forever. It's in true decentralization, we need the protocol should have additional foundations that kind of step up and do maybe have not even doesn't even have to be complementary vision for the internet computer, but rather just it's now an open protocol that anyone can step in and develop code and take the code whichever direction they see fit. So
right. Talking about the Internet Computer, can you perhaps dumb it down in layman terms? What are you guys trying to do? What are you doing? And yeah, what is it that you're trying to achieve with the Internet Computer?
yeah, so the vision is a world computer, which was like the original vision of Ethereum before it kind of took that path that it's on now. I always like to think of it as Amazon Web Services without the Amazon. So it's a decentralized cloud hosting blockchain that you can host an entire application fully on chain. This is what we believe is to be the next generation of blockchain technology, where you can do more than just like token ledgers and small, very small smart contract logic, but rather actually host like complicated applications and computation, and actually have a more seamless user experience. And so like that kind of gets back to like that idea of when I was at Novavax, just the idea of like rebuilding the internet, not even necessarily rebuilding it, but having a blockchain layer that adds security and transparency on top of the internet tech stack is kind of more where we're aiming for.
So while you were at Novavax, because I've been in the industry, in the crypto industry since 2018, and back then, especially around 2018, 19, we were all hearing about these real world applications of blockchain technology, how it can improve like supply chain dynamics and
Yeah.
whatnot. Did you did you think back then that blockchain can actually solve some of the problems that you named, that you saw while working at Novavax, like IP protection and security?
I hadn't seen it until ICP showed up. And that was what really caught my attention was they're all, I mean, 2018, 2017, really like 2016 is probably when supply chain started looking into blockchain. Walmart very famously tried to track their produce using blockchain. And what they found was basically the technology was not ready for that kind of, mass scaling. Um, so I had kind of given up on the vision of that. I even when I was working at Novavax, I was always interested in blockchain technology. Until again, I saw Dom speak about the internet computer and how like it, we're moving away. The internet computer's idea is like, look, NFTs and DeFi and everything that crypto became is great, but that's only a small sliver of what's possible. And the internet computer being now that like, hey, let's take that next step towards like building out like new entire verticals on the internet of like what is possible. So I don't know, the vision just caught my attention. The execution that DFINITY has had in the since then has been also just phenomenal. So it really makes me very bullish on like where we're heading as an industry. You're starting to see a lot of other blockchains start to adopt similar things that DFINITY's been saying for years now. So I think it's really the industry as a whole is moving in the right direction as well to going beyond just like NFTs, DeFi, GameFi, that kind of stuff.
On a more personal level, you mentioned that you were kind of looking into blockchain before you were working at Novavax and around 2000. You mentioned Walmart's effort.
Hmm.
Um, did it cross your mind back then that you might end up working in this particular industry?
Never, never,
Never? Yeah.
never. I would even say when ICP launched, I started just analyzing data as like in my free time at night after I put the kids to bed. I started a blog just to more or less capture my own thoughts on it. I didn't really expect anyone to read it, but it kind of took off and people found it interesting. And so the whole ride up to getting a job at DFINITY basically was just this like weird turn of event after turn of event, and it's a lot more common in our industry. I think a lot of people kind of found weird ways into the industry, and a lot of it just comes to like just doing what you're passionate about, and then somehow the world kind of works you into a plan. So
Can you also clarify what is exactly that you are doing at the DFINITY Foundation?
yeah, so my main responsibility is data and analytics, so analyzing, ledger information as well as like growth metrics and various other metrics that I report internally within DFINITY and occasionally externally to either, external partners or even the community at large. I also do a lot of like podcasts, speaking opportunities, pretty much just whatever I can like add value back to ICP. I want to gravitate towards that. I've been focused a lot on the Bitcoin narrative within ICP recently, and also touching on AI as well.
Speaking of the Bitcoin narrative, I was digging through your roadmap and I stumbled upon one section which was called chain fusion. Right. And then
Yeah.
I also saw that you guys just recently completed an update called Deuterium on August 13th. And it says there Chain Fusion supports Bitcoin, ordinals, and runes. Can you kind of walk us through what this update is about?
Yeah, so to understand, I'll go all the way back to what chain fusion is. And really it's a set of tooling on the internet computer that allows ICP smart contracts to read and write to major blockchains. And really our goal is to basically every major blockchain is what we'll probably, we'll create tooling around that. Bitcoin was the first we integrated with. That was about 19 months ago that we rolled that out. That's a direct integration. So a smart contract on ICP can sign a transaction on the Bitcoin mainnet, as well as read the UTXO set. The Deuterium milestone was almost kind of completed the Bitcoin package. And that released what's a signature scheme called Schnorr signature. So we have a threshold Schnorr solution that unlocks Taproot assets. So now on ICP, you can have a smart contract that can not only just do Bitcoin transactions, but can also inscribe ordinals. It can inscribe a BRC20 or etch rune. It can actually facilitate a swap of those. So basically like full read write capabilities for ordinals, BRC20s, runes, any other meta protocol that comes along built on Taproot would then you'll have that full functionality within an ICP smart contract.
Do you have a kind of a personal take on this kind of movement that's been forming along the Bitcoin's ecosystem in the past year with ordinals and runes and yeah?
So I think this is one of the like least reported things, but within our industry, but the industry is 100% returning back to Bitcoin. I think there's a strong case to be made that a lot more DeFi, GameFi, SocialFi, basically everything that's happened within other ecosystems is going to happen on Bitcoin. You can look at it from a couple different standpoints. For example, recently their Stacks put on the Bitcoin Builders Conference in Nashville. Phenomenal job. They had 1,200 developers show up this year. When they did it last year, they had 100 or so. So you already see like a 10x in
Yeah.
like that kind of community. You're seeing like major money flowing into the space. A lot of new L2s are popping up. There's a whole lot of innovation. And the common thread I keep hearing is like, oh, this is like the Ethereum ecosystem back in like 2018, 2019, where there's a whole lot of new L2s popping up, a whole lot of innovation going on. But I think when you consider like the liquidity base of Bitcoin, and when you consider the fact that in outside of our industry, which is again like still 99% of the world, Bitcoin is synonymous with blockchain and crypto, right? When I tell my parents I do blockchain, they go, "Oh, you work for Bitcoin." Like that's kind of the mindset. So the
Yeah.
brand recognition of Bitcoin is huge. So that Bitcoin L2 space is, in my opinion, going undoubtedly be bigger than even like the Ethereum L2 space is. So.
What are your thoughts on the kind of the um, debate between Bitcoin purists that these types of inscriptions and runes and etching and whatnot, they are actually taking away from Bitcoin's main purpose?
Yeah, that narrative that what you might sum as like Bitcoin maxi narrative
Right.
is it's dying a fast death, honestly. A couple of the nails in the coffin have been the miners have all came out in support of, which is clear, like what's good for revenue is good for them, what's good for miner revenue. So the miners basically dictate the narrative. And again, going back to like Nashville, I'll just say like personally, so BTC Media, who puts on the biggest Bitcoin conferences in the world, they've been historically not in favor of having like Bitcoin L2s at their conference. This year you saw ICP was there, BEVM was there, BitLayers there. So you can already see they're relaxing their stance. The speakers at the conference were much more focused on like meta protocols or even Bitcoin L2s. So you can already see the narrative. And I think a lot of it just comes down to, because I've talked to a lot of Bitcoiners over the last like 2 years. Bitcoiners just want the vast majority of Bitcoiners just want Bitcoin to succeed. They want to see that there's new use cases popping up. They want to see adoption. They want their friends to be using Bitcoin on a daily basis. So the idea that this like the maxi of like no, Bitcoin is only meant for Lightning and native transactions, I think is only held by a small group of people, and those people are typically influencers who made their career with that narrative, who find it too hard to pivot off of that narrative because it'll hurt their brand. And so I mean, the circle of people who actually feel that way, I think is, at least in my opinion, has been decreasing significantly in the last couple of years.
And you can also kind of see the circle of people who are in support of doing something different and fun on Bitcoin for once expanding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say what's interesting is there's this newer narrative that I've heard pick up in the last couple months, which is the whole Bitcoin L2 space, which I'm just using that term generally. I mean more like meta protocols, side chains, roll-ups, all of that. But the narrative is like, let's not just copy paste what happened on Ethereum or what's happening on Solana. Rather, let's build out new innovative use cases for cryptocurrencies on Bitcoin. Like it's almost like a blank page that we can now kind of like experiment with beyond what's already been built. So you may even see that where it's like DeFi kind of takes a different kind of perspective on Bitcoin, or you may see like different use cases that never existed before. So
You mentioned Solana. I see in the roadmap that the next update is about Solana, Helium.
yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, again, that's chain fusion. We're going to integrate with every single major chain. Our slogan has been unify, like a unified Web3 experience. The idea that like as an industry, we've segmented and fragmented all our liquidity and all our users into these like tribalistic camps. We're trying to break that down and really get back to like an idea that an entrepreneur should be able to just launch the product that they want to launch. They shouldn't be beholden to a specific tech stack that you make your decision and that's now you've defined your potential users and all of that, and rather just build on multiple tech stacks, multiple blockchains that kind of makes it so that you can build out the product you want and reach all the users you want to reach.
Solana kind of exploded in popularity this year with the meme coin craze and all that. Are you following what's happening with Tron the last couple of days? Has it crossed your feed?
With WBTC, or with is
No,
there
no, yeah. So Justin Sun recently announced that they launch a meme coin launchpad or whatever it is. It's called Sun Pump, and in the past 5 days, I think they've been pumping like over 1,000 meme coins every single day. And today a report came out by CoinShares, I think, that Solana saw their largest ever institutional outflow of about 39 million. And at the same time, Tron, the network, is recording this surge of popularity. It really goes to show how a narrative that came out of almost out of nowhere the last part of last year, I think, and took off to an entirely unimaginable dimension. It really goes on to show how the things change really quickly, and even with chains that didn't see much of activity outside of USDT with Tron, right now it's a complete madness there. The meme coin casino seems to have shifted to Tron. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's and that kind of points to, if you're a developer and you want to build a product, right? Like it's not enough that there's all these different technologies out there and you have to figure out which one works for your technology, but you also have to anticipate the future like movement of the industry, right? Like if meme coins move from Solana to a different platform, well, now if you built your meme coin app on Solana, and you see the market move away from you, like yeah, that's a big giant risk as well. There's all these unknowns now, and that kind of gets to the heart of like what chain fusion is like, let's say you timed it wrong, you built your meme app on your meme coin app
Yeah.
on Solana. Well, if the market moves to Tron, then you should be able to tap into Tron without having to rebuild your app. Your app could stay on Solana, use ICP as basically a bridge over to the Tron ecosystem. And then from like that standpoint, like somebody from Tron doesn't even have to know they're using a Solana app. So anyways, I mean, I think it kind of, I mean, for a long, our industry will never grow beyond what it is today. if we think of these tribalistic and these walled garden mentality, we've basically mapped out like the total addressable market with that approach. The other 99% of the world is not interested in having to learn what these different chains are and where the narrative is moving and all of that. So
Yeah. And another part of your roadmap is called decentralized AI, right? And you
yep.
guys recently also pushed an update in this regard, which was your on-chain AI interface, if I'm not mistaken. I'm trying to find it, but I think that was it.
Yeah, we did two things. One, we put out a demo of facial recognition fully on chain. So the inference engine lives fully in a smart contract on ICP. And then the second was we released a bunch of updates, performance specs on ICP. But yeah, so I mean that kind of like gets back to that idea of like ICP is something different than what other blockchains are. And that you can actually host like giant applications fully on chain. You see a couple examples like Kinnick DAO built, which is it would start off as a search engine on ICP, and they have now released a vector database product. They recently announced that product got a 100 million data point vector database fully on chain. So 70 gigabytes of data living on the block, living fully on one smart contract on ICP. You had the facial recognition demo, I think, which was really cool. You also have like Decide AI, which is another app that's releasing a proof of humanity AI that is fully on chain. So a lot of cool, like people are really, and I think so AI maybe so. First of all, there's a lot of excitement over like consumer applications of AI on chain, but really like the gold mine is enterprise applications on chain that are AI. So you think about like I know I've neighbors who work for Coke. Coke has Coke GPT. So think about it like it's only for the Coke employees. They can go in, they can ask any question, what were the quality assurance results from the last batch? What, did we pay this invoice? What are their sales figures look like for, this geographic area? And it'll give them back an answer. Like that is like a honeypot for corporate espionage. And as corporations adopt that model, an LLM for basically managing all their employees, basically the enterprise valuation is going to be heavily tied to that AI. It'll host all the information, and so having things like security and having things like tamper proof, you get those a lot better on a blockchain like ICP, and that is where I think we're probably not there yet because there's a lot more education that needs to happen at the enterprise level. I've bought enterprise, I've been on the buying end of buying enterprise software, so I know the amount of due diligence you do, and adopting a new platform takes a long time. But that is, I think, like the $1 trillion opportunity for ICP is like enterprise AI and being able to provide, tamper-proof, highly secure AI agents to corporates, nation states, and all of that.
You mean that you guys have to educate the companies and the enterprises who would be potentially integrating the, yeah.
Yep. Yeah, because I mean, if you're a CIO, their goal is to not lose their job.
Right.
And so there's always like there's 100 businesses that it's like, well, you'll never really use your job if you just buy this software. Like you'll never lose your job if you buy Salesforce relative to like a software startup. That's even doubly true when you're talking about like a protocol, like a whole new tech stack that you would be adopting. But that's just it takes education, it takes time. But that is a massive opportunity just kind of sitting there. And DFINITY's recently announced, this was back, I think, in March, the Utopia project, which will spin off into like a for-profit company, basically to kind of handle a lot of that enterprise and nation state use cases.
Can you talk us through your update? I think it's the next in the roadmap. It's called Gyrotron. On-chain AI inference and training of large models. So that's kind of sounds like falling within the same category as targeting enterprises and
Yeah. So that one is here's the easiest way to understand it. So AI is I always sum it up as this. AI is four components: data, large data, training. So that's like the algorithm, Inference engine, so that's like what the consumer would interact with, the LLM or whatever the ML model or neural net or whatever. And then you have the user interface, UI UX. So UI UX has been possible on Internet Computer since basically the launch. Data, like I said, we can actually get 400 gigabytes of data on a single smart contract. So that's good, but not great. We still need to beef that up. Our goal is to get to 2 terabytes, which maybe that milestone will get us closer to. We still have a lot of unknowns before we put firm numbers behind things, for Gyrotron. And then inference engine. So that's kind of like, that's what I was just talking about with that Coke GPT example. We can do smaller models, and we can do bigger models. So, for example, a developer in the DFINITY forums recently posted that they got a Llama 3 8 billion parameter model, which is like a very, like, that's almost like consumer ready size of an LLM model. They got that fully running in an Internet Computer smart contract. However, there's some latency issues, so the customer experience would have been really poor, and the cost. It was a lot more expensive to run on the Internet Computer than it would have been on like a Web 2 tech stack. And so those are optimizations that we need to roll out. So that Gyrotron milestone, which I don't think we've put specific uh, goal, I don't know what you call it, like objectives in it, like as in like increase the smart contract size
Yeah.
to 400 gigabytes to 800 or anything like that. I don't think we've gotten specific yet, but that's what you're going to see is um, things that'll actually point to like holding more data on chain, running larger inference models with less latency and reduced costs. And then the final piece is that training. You can't train on the Internet Computer right now. We would have to get a GPU subnet. I know we're doing some research and development in that area. That's an extremely hard, like that's like an extremely hard thing to do, because a GPU is by nature non-deterministic, which means that you don't necessarily get the same output when you put in the same inputs. And a consensus protocol requires determinism. So trying to figure that out, but that could also be part of that Gyrotron if there's any breakthroughs in there.
Right. A more broad and general question about AI. I think something that a lot of people are, they have it on their minds. Do you think it's at some point it's possible for things to go out of hand especially with generative AI, and it appears to be so easy to just create stuff that is fictional, but it doesn't look fictional.
I mean, is it possible to go out of hand? I'd say it already has, right? I just saw a video
Right. Okay.
over the weekend of Donald Trump and Kamala Harris getting, romancing each other, getting married and having a baby. Somebody created that
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
like
I saw it. I saw it too. Yeah.
yeah, I think that's been going viral. So things are already maybe going out of hand. In terms of like the biggest, so that's a problem, and that's probably something society needs to fix. The idea of AI kind of like taking over the world or reaching that AGI state, that I think that's still not a high concern, at least in my opinion. We haven't gotten to the point where AI is anything more than basically the totality of what humans have put on the internet. There's no new ideas like outside of what already has been posted that I think AI can do yet. And so until we get to that, there's probably some concerns. But like simple things like as a data scientist, I'm watching as Claude is quickly removing my expertise, the competitive advantage I have for my expertise, because anyone can go in and ask for a Python script to, pull on this API and compile the data and post it in this format. And so my technical expertise is being devalued pretty rapidly. So that's also a concern. But
It's not just your particular technical expertise. I think a lot of professions are kind of being challenged, but by what AI can do.
yeah. I mean, who was it? There was somebody who posted online like a year ago, something that said in the future there's two types of people, those who lost their jobs to AI and those who became rich off AI.
Yeah.
And like that's kind of I assume there's a bit of hyperbole in that, but there's some truth in that in terms of if you're not using AI, it's kind of like in
Yeah.
poker.
Yeah,
If you're not the sucker, if you can't see who, if you don't, when you sit down at a table, if you don't know who the sucker is, it's you.
it's probably
So
you. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's kind of the same with AI in your job.
Yeah, I was watching this reel, I think, on YouTube, a short where uh, the short compared programming 5 years ago and programming now, and now it was just a coder just pulling requests from ChatGPT to basically write all the code that he needed. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. I mean, and so I'll say I've seen people who have taken Claude to write code and then taken another product, I can't remember what it was, that basically managed prompts. So it was AI prompting AI to create
yeah,
code, and then that first AI was then re-changing its prompts to drive some sort of behavior from the Claude application, which was just like I don't know.
yeah,
My brain
next level.
struggles.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's like Inception, right? Like
yeah.
you're just like you have AI within AI within AI. So
But this also goes to show like how creative we can be, especially when given the opportunity in new technology. It's just crazy what the human mind can birth.
yes, 100%. Yeah.
Kyle, what is it that you are most excited about? And in crypto, I would say short term, which is like, let's say 5 to 6 months, if that sounds short term at all.
Yeah, I mean, going back to the Bitcoin conversation. So I'm very biased towards ICP. So this is going to be a very ICP answer,
Of
but
course.
the value that ICP is bringing Bitcoin. So first of all, what the entire Bitcoin L2 landscape is doing is phenomenal, and I'm seeing partners across the space who are like doing some really really cool work. There's some foundations and companies who are building like really cool Bitcoin infrastructure on ICP right now. I don't know if you saw last week, I think it was Tap Protocol got the first ever um, on mainnet on Bitcoin mainnet swap and liquidity pool. And the way they accomplished that was with a ICP smart contract that basically could just index and perform the compute part of it. But now you could actually execute. So they launched a token called Swaparoo as like an example. Now you could actually trade Swaparoo by writing Bitcoin transactions, Taproot transactions, which is cool, really cool. So
Yeah.
like that kind of stuff. And I'm seeing behind the scenes a lot of people doing similar cool infrastructure. So that's one thing. The second thing, again, when you combine Chain Fusion and AI, I do think ICP is going to become the AI layer of crypto in the sense that you're if you're like a Solana dev and you've already built an application and you have traction, or you're built on Base, or you built on Arbitrum, or you're building on a Bitcoin L2 or something like that, you've already launched your application and you want to incorporate AI in some way, shape, or form, but you don't want to share your private keys with Microsoft or Google or OpenAI. Um, like people are building AI applications on ICP and then using the Chain Fusion tool set to then integrate it into their existing app. And I think that's very powerful in the sense that we're not going around saying, hey, if you want AI in crypto, you have to build everything on ICP. You have to take your current product, trash it, and build a new one. You can actually just keep your product the same, keep it on whatever chain it's already on, keep your users, and then just build a small component on ICP that then provides that AI layer.
Well, I think that's a wrap for today. Thank you once again for agreeing to do this. Can you tell us where we can find you on socials?
Yeah, so if you want to learn more about Internet Computer, just internetcomputer.org. If you want to find me, I'm at Kyle Langham on Twitter or X. That's usually the easiest place to find me.
Okay, thank you.